Hi guys, what's up? I've been wanting to film this video for a long time. Here's 10 things you need to know before planning a destination wedding in Big Sur. What's up? We got married last year in Big Sur. Some of you know that, some of you don't. I just wanted to share our personal experience planning a destination wedding in Big Sur. There's definitely a lot of things we didn't realize going into it that we would have loved to know beforehand. So if any of you are planning a wedding in Big Sur, or you're thinking about it, or you would love to do it, if you've had to postpone a wedding, cancel one, you're redoing everything, I just wanted to share the 10 things that we wish we had known before planning a wedding in Big Sur. I love Big Sur. It's my favorite place on earth. Chris proposed to me in Big Sur. We went back a year later to get married, and we brought all of our family and friends with us. It was a 60-person wedding, and it just blew my mind. Chris and I planned our wedding together. We planned it with my mom. She was like our go-to person for helping out with all the researching and the emailing and all that kind of stuff. For such a laid-back place, it's really hard to plan a destination wedding in Big Sur. The nuances of trying to plan stuff up there when it's so remote, it's so out of the way, it may as well be in a different country with how hard it is to get a hold of anybody up there. So everything at our wedding turned out amazing. Like, honestly, it was a miracle how good everything worked out. But there's definitely some surprises along the way that we had to figure out either on the fly or try to find a solution for that I just want to share with you guys. All right, here we go. 10 things about planning a wedding in Big Sur. Got my iPad, got my notes. So the first thing that I would really recommend if you are thinking of getting married in Big Sur is that you should really plan in advance. So Big Sur is a very popular destination to go vacation during the summer. The weather is good in the summer. The rest of the year it can be cloudy, rainy, storming. You definitely want to plan far enough in advance. And partly this is to give your guests time to find accommodations. If they want to go the more affordable route and book campgrounds, or if they want to find a hotel or an Airbnb to stay in the area, I would definitely recommend giving them enough time to look into that and to find the option that suits them best. We told our guests, if you guys have any inkling of thinking you can go to our wedding, we recommend booking a hotel or a campsite right now. Things get really full. Even 11 months, in my opinion, was cutting it kind of close. For telling people we were getting married in Big Sur, about 6 months into our wedding planning, some of my family still hadn't booked a hotel or an Airbnb, and the US Open announced that the golf tournament was going to be happening in Carmel, in like Pebble Beach area. And this was really bad for planning our honeymoon too, because all of the hotels in Carmel, which the majority of our guests were staying in Carmel, all of the prices for those hotels just skyrocketed. They went through the roof. All of those hotels were booked, or they were just ridiculously expensive. For like a little motel was like $800 a night. A lot of our guests were able to get the reasonable prices before the US Open was announced, so that worked out fine. Okay, number 2, we went into planning our wedding with the mindset like, oh, we'll spend like a quarter of our wedding budget and like save the rest of the money, and that just did not happen at all. It did not happen like that. Let me just tell you. We're friends. Let me just tell you. We blew way past what our budget was. And we thought we were eloping, like we thought it was a really small wedding. We sent out 70 invites. I think around 60 people were able to come. Yeah, it's not cheap. Big Sur is not affordable. I did know a girl who got married in Big Sur who managed to make it semi-affordable. They stood on the beach with like 15 people, said their vows, and then they went to Big Sur Bakery for dinner afterwards. They were able to book out the back room. So, you know, you can definitely have a very small wedding, or like just you and your husband or you and your wife go and do an elopement, and that is affordable. Like, that is affordable. If you want to have a wedding with like 15 people or more, it's gonna be expensive. We went in being very optimistic about it being affordable, and it just wasn't. And our mentality was, if we're gonna have a wedding in Big Sur, we're gonna have a wedding in Big Sur. So we just decided, like, we're going all into this. We're gonna try to make this as special as we can. And it was expensive, but that was what we chose. It was really worth it for us, and we still look back and just think like, dang, that was epic. Like, we have so many amazing memories of that whole weekend. Back to the original point, Big Sur is gonna be expensive unless you go with like 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, it's gonna be pricey. So just get that in your mind, and then we can continue, we can move on. Leads me into my next point. So the venues are expensive. So we love Ventana. We stayed at Ventana Resort. I'm just gonna let you know right now, the venue for your ceremony is one fee, and the venue for your reception is another fee. So the venue for your ceremony, they priced it out at $15,000. Reception venue was another $15,000. So you do the math. Ventana was out of the question for us. Post Ranch Inn was even more. Fernwood, those were good options, but we wanted to have an ocean view, and Fernwood Resort is in the trees, which is really pretty, but it wasn't really the vibe we were going for. So we actually ended up at an Airbnb. It's called Wind and Sea. We are obsessed with Wind and Sea. We love it. Wind and Sea is beautiful. It has an ocean view. It has a perfect ceremony spot down below. They have enough room for like 60 people. Like, we capped out their capacity level. We are so happy we went with the Airbnb instead of going with Ventana or any of the other resorts, just because there's so many rules on those resorts and the time frames are very strict. Like, a 5-hour wedding was pretty much what they would do. We did have to pay a venue fee, but it was way more affordable than any of the other resort or hotel fees. And we got to enjoy it for more than just that one day. We got to start our wedding whenever we wanted to and not necessarily be charged more. Like, I think our ceremony started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because, like, why wait? We have this place all day, like, we can have as long of a wedding as we want. So we had our wedding start at 2 o'clock, and it was just really fun. It was really awesome. So we definitely recommend the Airbnb. I will link Wind and Sea down below. What number are we at? Number 4, get a contract with everything. So we booked Wind and Sea. We found our venue on VRBO, and in the listing for the venue, all of the details of what we got was laid out in the description of the VRBO. We didn't actually have a contract. We were just basing it off of what the website said. So we paid the money, we booked the dates, everything was all good. And then halfway through our engagement, as we were planning our wedding, the management company for the VRBO switched to somebody else. So the new management company didn't have a record of what we had agreed to pay for. The website listing of the VRBO was changed and reworded, so the things we had thought we were getting that we saw and we're like, we'll pay for this, those were now gone. So we didn't have anything to reference back to saying, this is what the listing said when we paid for this venue, this is what we're supposed to get. So there was a lot of confusion throughout that process. It all worked out fine, and I still love Wind and Sea. Just make sure to get contracts, make sure to get things down in writing. Some of the things we were confused about was, it said they provided chairs, which they did, but they only provided chairs for the ceremony down below, and the venue is like a tall, the house is up top and there's stairs going down to the ceremony location below. So they would bring the chairs down to the bottom and set them up, but they wouldn't bring them up for dinner. So we had to rent more chairs for dinner to have it up on the deck, and they also didn't provide anybody to help set up the chairs. So we didn't learn until the last couple months before our wedding that there's one guy on the premises to set these chairs up, and he was like, well, I'm gonna need some help. Like, does the father of the bride wanna help? Like, does the groom wanna help? And we were like, what? Like, no? That was really confusing. It was this whole thing, but it worked out, it was fine. We had 2 sets of chairs, top and bottom. Like, we were good. Everything worked out fine. So get in a contract the things that you want, make sure that it's written down and that you have it. Honestly, it's gonna save a lot of heartache later because people just forget. Like, there's a lot of email chains going back and forth and people are just gonna forget what they said. So, yes. Number 5, okay, so like I said earlier, you cannot cheat the system. Big Sur has a system, you can't cheat it, you can't get around it, you have to obey the system in Big Sur. By system, I mean you can't walk into a restaurant with 15 people for your rehearsal dinner and say, this is just my family. They will charge you a fee, they will charge you a like venue fee or whatever they call it. it's not gonna be just the cost of dinner. You're gonna have to pay for like the operation and the organization. They won't just let you walk in or like have a bunch of people. We tried this at every single restaurant in advance saying, oh, we have like a birthday party coming up. We just wanna hang out and have like 20 people. And they're like, no, our cap is like 7 people. So the first problem is that the restaurants have a very small capacity in terms of reservations. The second problem is that the venues will not do anything above 20 people. So we had to narrow in our rehearsal dinner guest list to 20 people. We ended up going to Nepenthe because it was an affordable-ish price, and also they have a big enough space. Everybody could park there. There's plenty of room for us. We can all sit together, which is another thing. A lot of the other restaurants would have sporadic tables around, so we wouldn't all be able to sit together. So the rehearsal dinner was actually a really complicated part of our wedding, and it really stressed me out. We wanted to go to a rehearsal dinner venue that was able to accommodate all of us. And so Nepenthe was able to do that. It definitely was a close squeeze. Like, we had 2 people not able to come, so that gave us 20 people, which was the total amount that we could possibly have at Nepenthe. There's plenty of parking. It's a really easy spot to find, and it just worked out really great. Something that we did not plan on and we didn't think we would need, which I'm so glad we got, was shuttles. We got married at Windansea. Carmel's at the top of Big Sur. Carmel is like the closest town that your guests can stay in within reasonable distance to any venue in Big Sur. Shuttles were something that we didn't plan on that we are so glad that we got. Basically like 40 of our guests were staying in Carmel, and we had 2 shuttles that were picking guests up from the Big Sur area. So very close, like pickups and drop-offs in Big Sur. And then we had 1 big bus that met guests up at Carmel like an hour and a half before the wedding started, picked them all up at once and drove them down. So it worked out really well. Having someone who we hired that knows the roads of Big Sur, that knows all the pickup points, that was able to say like where the best spot for guests to leave their car was. Nobody was late. It solves the problem of like people getting lost. It solves the problem of not having any self-service, which I'm going to get into in my next point. There's no self-service. So the whole asking for directions, trying to figure out where our really remote venue was not a problem at all. And that is probably the most valuable part of getting shuttles, is that we weren't trying to call people and figure out where they were when there's no service. Like, just make sure people really know, like, if you're in the bus, you're in the bus. And this is the time frame of our wedding. The bus will be leaving the wedding at this time, so plan accordingly. Like, you're in this for the long run. It's a destination wedding in Big Sur. You gotta stay for it. You can't go home early. I'm sorry. They can drink when they get to your wedding. There's an hour drive to sober up on the way home. Like, it is just a really good idea. So we're super happy we did that. Okay, so that's that. And on to my next point. You cannot do this without a wedding website. Don't try. We had every single thing our guests needed to know on our wedding website, and it really helped in regards to staying in touch with them, telling them updates, things that they needed to know. We had all of our guests' email addresses. We would send out email updates. It sounds like you're crazy, like I sound crazy, but honestly, like, I had to be so organized for this wedding because Big Sur is huge and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people to organize. Like, a 60-person wedding in Big Sur is pretty big for that area. Telling people where I recommend they stay, letting them know how far everything is from each other, like our venue's down here, Carmel is up here, these resorts and campgrounds are in this area. So like, if you stay here, you'll be closer. If you stay up here, you'll be further. We have a shuttle service. They'll be picking up from this address in Carmel. You have to be there at this time, otherwise the shuttle's gonna leave without you. We had to over inundate people with information, and it was probably annoying to some people following up and maybe a little stressful, but honestly, it saved so much stress in the long run. With there not being self-service later on, nobody was like freaked out by it. Everybody knew going in. Some people got walkie-talkies. There's ways to do it, but you really do have to be so clear with your guests, like what is going on. If you want like a laid-back chill wedding, or if you want to be a laid-back chill bride, you can't do that in Big Sur. You cannot do that. I was laid back on my wedding day because I planned so much in advance how I can make it easy for myself and everybody there, so that nobody has a question, so that nobody's freaked out, so that nobody's taken off guard. Like, genuinely, that was our goal. Chris and I's goal is to do all the hard work following up to our wedding so that we could relax on our wedding day, so that our parents could relax on our wedding day, and it was so worth it. Like, everybody at our wedding was relaxed. My parents were relaxed. It was exactly what we wanted it to be because we put in the hard work in advance. So the self-service thing can be a problem, and it will be a problem if you don't plan in advance, if you don't let guests know prior to everybody getting there for your wedding that there's no service. I'm really passionate about that. I'm really passionate about the no cell service thing. Send them an itinerary, make a wedding website, get emails to send updates, get directions for people, know where everybody's staying. Like, also tell them like you will not be able to be reached if they have a question. If they're trying to call you, too bad, ask your questions in advance. Ask me the things that you need to know before my wedding weekend when I'm trying to chill and hang out and get married. Tip number 8. So another thing we didn't realize was that we did C-Stars Catering for our catering. They're amazing. Something we did not realize was that they do not allow any tasting of the food prior to your wedding day. So we had to like have massive trust and faith that they were as good as they said that they were. They were definitely as good as they said they were. It was the best wedding food that I've ever had in my life. We had like halibut, we had like peppercorn flank steak, we had some type of mac and cheese, salad, we had gluten-free bread and like regular bread. It was really, really good, but we didn't get to taste any of that beforehand. All of their stuff is like organic and farmed and natural, so we just trusted like, all right, you guys are pretty expensive and you have really good reviews. We saw photos of their food. They have an amazing website, which I'll link below. It turned out amazing. They cooked all of our food in our venue, at our kitchen, in the venue, in our Airbnb. They cooked everything. So that was super cool for our guests to be able to watch like this huge steak being cut up and grilled on the cooktop and the salad being made. So that was a really unique touch that I didn't think I wanted. Like I thought that would be weird, but they're so professional and they had been in that venue before. They'd worked with Wind and Sea a lot. So they were very familiar with the kitchen. They're very professional, very straightforward. The food was delicious. We did a buffet style, so people were called in chunks to go get their food, and it just worked out really well. It was all really delicious. Okay, point number 9, wrapping it up guys. If you can afford it, I would recommend getting a wedding planner or a day of coordinator. There's a lot of logistics to plan with this type of a destination wedding with all the stuff I've mentioned before, like it's a long drive, there's no service, all that kind of stuff. My day of coordinator handled all of the details regarding like when people were showing up, what vendors were getting there, where they were gonna park, all of that kind of stuff. And it would have been so much on my parents if I would have had my parents handle it. It was 100% worth the splurge to get a day of coordinator. Our C-Stars Catering food lady kind of doubled up as our wedding planner before our wedding day, but we actually also had a day of coordinator that was helping with the stuff going on our actual wedding day. But there's just so many details and so many little things that could go wrong because of being in Big Sur with all of the different like problems that arise with the destination wedding in Big Sur. She handled all of them, and the lady that we had was so peaceful and calm. She was really present with me the whole time and present with my parents and like bringing them back to the moment when they got really like, oh, like kind of like what's going on. Chris and I's like utmost desire was for our parents to not have to do anything on our wedding day, and that was something that I really cared about. I wanted them to be able to sit back and not be the hosts, especially because we are at an Airbnb. They are staying in this Airbnb. We're also having our wedding in this Airbnb, so like it's basically like having a wedding at my house. Like they would have felt the need to be the hosts because of the nature of the fact that they are staying in this place. They know the ins and outs of this Airbnb we're renting, and I didn't want them to feel like they had any obligation to set anything up or to do anything. My mom is just that type of person who wants to help and be involved and like do things, but she got to do really fun things she enjoys, like making granola for our hike earlier in the day and like making really beautiful signs and like setting things up really pretty and just decorating. She got to do the fun stuff that she enjoyed before the wedding and not the like arduous, complicated, stressful stuff like telling people what to do and being overwhelmed. She didn't have to be overwhelmed because somebody else was handling those problems. So I am so happy that we spent the money to get a day of coordinator. It was so worth it, and I'm really glad for the experience that we were able to give to our parents because of the fact we took so much responsibility off their hands for that day. So I definitely recommend that. I'm just gonna share a story to drive this point home about getting a wedding day coordinator. At the end of the night, it was around 8 o'clock, Chris and I were down on the cliffs at the bottom of the property of our wedding venue. We were watching the sunset. We could see all of our family and friends like sitting around the campfire that we had at our ceremony spot, roasting marshmallows and laughing and having a fun time. And we looked up at our venue and I could see my mom, like, I'm gonna cry because it's like, it's so good. I looked up at our wedding venue and I could see my mom. And she was standing on the balcony and she was watching the sunset. And I was like, oh, my mom, like I see my mom up there, she's watching the sunset. And like I saw my dad up there talking to friends. And like they weren't doing anything. They weren't picking anything up. They weren't cleaning up. They weren't like directing people. Like they were hanging out with their friends at my wedding. And like, I'm like super emotional about that, but I would pay so much money. Like that right there was worth every penny of hiring people to take care of things so my parents could have that time that they had, so that my parents could take everything in. Like, I will never regret every single decision Chris and I made along the way and every single amount of money we paid to pay someone else to do something so that my parents wouldn't have to. They were able to hang out with their best friends and with their family and talk to people that they enjoy and soak up our wedding weekend as much as we were able to soak it up. So that to me is why I'm so passionate about hiring a coordinator or a planner or whoever you need to hire the day of. Like that should be just as important as the food that you pick or like the photographer you choose. Like all of that other stuff we chose was amazing, but to me that made the biggest impact on my memories of our wedding day is being able to be with my mom and my dad the whole day and just see them and to see them focused and see them having fun and to see them enjoying the day as much as I was able to enjoy the day. Point number 10. Oh, you make it, Lauren. One more point. Tip number 10, don't over decorate. Done. If you're getting married in Big Sur, I don't know of any ugly venues or Airbnbs or campgrounds at all that are hideous. Don't over decorate. Don't put gaudy decorations, bejeweled, bedazzled, like if that's, you know, do it if you want, but in my opinion, we had very minimal decorations. We had some flowers on the table, garland on our dinner table. We had like pampas grass down below at the ceremony site and it was perfect. It was all that it needed. Like it didn't even need that. We could have not had anything up and it would have been amazing. If you're not a natural person or if you like are bedazzled, bejeweled, like I would recommend venues in Carmel that are really extravagant and really like bougie and not places that have just that natural beauty where you don't need to add a bunch of stuff into it. So that's like my very personal opinion. You could totally disagree and like, I want diamonds, I want jewels, like do it if that's what you want. But my opinion is that a little bit of twinkle lights, a fire pit down below, and some random flowers on your table is more than enough for Big Sur. So that's my tip. Okay, I have a bonus tip. I got a bonus tip for you guys because I was given some really good advice and I've told a few people this advice. It changed our perspective on our wedding day. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you, this is the advice that we got. We were told, don't leave each other for a second on your wedding day. Oh my God, you guys. This was mind-blowingly important for us. We went into our wedding day, we talked about like what is the experience we both want out of our wedding day, what do we want to leave with memories of, like what do we want to make sure we do on our wedding day. There was nobody at the wedding we didn't want to talk to, which is another really important point. So the really good piece of advice that we got from a friend was that don't leave each other on your wedding day. Don't leave each other, go to the bathroom together, you're married now, like hold hands the whole time. Don't let people pull you away from each other, like don't go over here to see this one thing and like leave your spouse over there. Chris and I tried to stay together as much as we could for our wedding day so that we had similar memories and it wasn't like an hour or two passed by where I have no idea where he is. He's making separate memories than I am. Like that could be cool to like come back later and say like, oh, this is what I did, what did you do? But like it's your wedding day. Like you want to be able to have like, remember that one time on our wedding day when Nick hid Smirnoff Ice behind the counter and then you had to go and chug the whole thing behind the house? Like that's a memory that we have that we get to talk about and share and look at photos of that happening and be like, I was there, he was there, we experienced that together, we have the same memories, and that is just so important to me. Like we've been able to look back on our wedding day and talk about things and have the same shared memories, and it means so much to the both of us because we can be like, oh wow, like I didn't remember that thing, but you remembered it and now I remember it because we were both there. The other good piece of advice that I got that we definitely did for our wedding, somebody told me, write your vows like you are talking directly to your spouse and nobody else. And that changed the way that I wrote my vows. Like I think it's really tempting to write your vows and kind of be a comedian and like talk to the crowd that's there talk to the family members, like tell jokes that they'll laugh at, but your vows are for your husband or your wife. And so I really had to rein myself in and like remind myself, I'm writing for him. I'm writing for him. Like these vows are my promises to him, not my jokes for them, you know? That was a really important thing for us. I have our vows framed by our bed, and every time I read them or see them, I'm just like, I know that those vows are like from my heart for Chris, and I know that his vows for me are from his heart, and that they're all for me. They're not for anyone else's enjoyment, they're just for my enjoyment. So many of our guests came up to us afterwards and just said that our ceremony was so special, and how the things that we said, they could tell like were so emotional and impactful for us to say to each other. They could really feel the power in what we were saying, not because we were trying to be powerful or because we were trying to wow them with our vows. Like we were just telling each other the thing that we needed to hear the most, and that made all the difference in our vows. My memories of our ceremony is of Chris like telling me things that I've always needed to hear from him, and that was like so special and so amazing. So you guys, that's what I have. That's all that I got. You guys, those are my 10 tips and 2 bonus tips of how to plan a wedding in Big Sur, or the things that you should know before you plan a wedding in Big Sur. I hope these were helpful. Thank you for listening and for following along, and I will see you in the next video. Talk to you later. I'm sweating. You can't tell because I'm wearing a baggy dress. Okay, bye.